Before we get into this episode, there's something that might be of interest that I wanted to tell you about. Scene and Heard, who run this podcast, have been asked by Scotland Food and Drink to undertake a strategic review of the Scotland Food and Drink Excellence Awards. Now, these Excellence Awards have been going for almost 20 years and are a huge mainstay of the food and drink sector. But it's time to ensure that they're still relevant. So if you have ever been involved in the Scotland Food and Drink Excellence Awards, or even if you've ever had an opinion about them, we would love for you, please, to complete our survey. So if you go to the On Farm Twitter, which is at @on_farm UK, and click the link in the bio, there will be a tab in there that will take you to the survey, and it should only take you a very short while to complete, but we would be enormously grateful. Hello and welcome to another episode of On Farm Health. We are now into May, still under COVID-19 lockdown and still producing episodes of On Farm Helps because there are people out there who are thriving at the moment and innovating, but there are also people out there who are really struggling. So we want to try and provide some help and advice. Today, I'm joined by Julia Latto, who is part of the team from Scottish Enterprise, who runs the Rural Leadership Programme. And she has been learning a lot about challenges and opportunities facing rural business over recent weeks. So I was delighted to chat to her, and I hope you enjoy the conversation.
Hi there, Anna. So the Rural Leadership Programme is run in partnership with, it's a Scottish Enterprise programme run in partnership with Highlands and Islands Enterprise. Scottish Enterprise have invested in the Rural Leadership Programme for over 14 years, and it's a very successful programme on a number of fronts. It's a 6-month programme that runs from October to March. We have, on average, 60 participants every year from across Scotland, the length and breadth of Scotland, and across all sectors. So it really is a very diverse leadership programme. The main benefits that people come out of the 6-month, pretty intense and challenging programme is really around developing a new outlook to growing their business, both growing their business and also growing themselves as a leader. The programme really does make a significant difference to decision making, to productivity, to looking at new markets, and also in how people manage staff. They're very ambitious leaders who think very differently and have a very different outlook to growing their business. So we've now got 630 in the network, and they really are quite a force of a network across Scotland.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I am a rural leader myself. I did the programme in 2012, 2013 and thoroughly enjoyed it. I made friends, I made contacts, I made business connections. I've recruited clients as a result of people and conversations I've had in connection to the Rural Leadership Programme.
Yep.
So I highly recommend it. But we're not. This isn't an advertising episode for the Rural Leadership Programme,
Yep.
obviously. But what it is about the people who've been through the programme, putting that in context in relation to the current crisis, the COVID-19 crisis that we're facing. But perhaps before we talk through that, can you just tell me, fairly briefly, I suppose, but before this crisis hit, what was a typical day like for you regarding your involvement in the Rural Leadership Programme?
Yeah, so my typical involvement would be travelling to meet with rural leaders, gaining insights into, what decisions are making for their business, how Scottish Enterprise or other agencies could help with their growth. As the programme is on an annual basis, I would look at receiving a number of applications, say around August time. So I'd have to go through all the applications and then meet with all the rural leaders at the start of the programme. So between really October to March is about building new relationships. And then after then is about really supporting the network. Part of the programme is you build an action plan. You set yourself, ambitious goals, and you really challenge your thinking. So a lot of the skills that people have gained on the programme are now kicking in significantly, very much at the forefront of the skills that people have gained, plus obviously new skills.
In a sense, part of the Rural Leadership Programme is preparing people for times of challenge. And we don't always know what those challenges will be. And some of them, just like this current one, will hit us head on in a way that we're not expecting. But part of the Rural Leadership Programme is to facilitate and enable people to have those skills to deal with such challenges.
Also, what it does do, as you probably know, is rural businesses, they're a resilient bunch. They've had to adapt and look at things very differently. Foot to mouth was a very good example of that. It was one of the reasons why Scottish Enterprise invested in the leadership programme, because having a voice in a time of crisis is absolutely crucial when we're looking at policy changes and resources that are required. The lessons that we learned then are exactly why we put in place a leadership programme, because leadership is absolutely key to economic growth.
We are in the midst of COVID-19, and I know that you've been doing a huge piece of work to really try and find out the challenges and also, just as importantly, the opportunities that are facing past and present rural leaders.
Yeah, so it's obviously been a very, very challenging for everybody. The rural leaders are obviously the businesses that, I've been speaking to on a regular basis. Different sectors are struggling or maybe not being as exposed to it. So I'll give you an example. For example, in agriculture, some of the rural leaders I'm speaking to haven't seen such a huge crisis right now, but they're obviously aware that, maybe down the line, prices could increase, etc. Then we have rural services. So, they're adapting in a very, very different way as well. So the challenges that I'm picking up have been very varied. So just to give you, some examples, we did quite a big survey about 3 weeks ago. So obviously it's changing all the time, but
moving feast,
very moving. But the insights are critical to Scottish Enterprise, because we need the intelligence, because this intelligence gets fed straight back into Scottish Enterprise, who are working, as a multi-agency approach with the Scottish Government to really help inform policy decisions. It's critical that we get this, pulse survey regularly, so we know and we understand quickly, and we can adapt our responses quickly. An example is some stats when I've been speaking to people. 48% has managed to stay open, but what that looks like is very different. Many have had to furlough their staff. The cash flow is a serious issue for many businesses. Many rural leaders I'm speaking to have got a cash flow crisis, and certainly, over the coming weeks and months, that's going to be pretty stark. Just under 70% have seen their sales and income decrease.
Gosh, yeah, that's a huge number.
Yep, and from the discussions, the funding that has become available has been a massive support. It's, for businesses, I have regularly heard the support has been invaluable. That insight, feeds directly back in, as I said, to Scottish Government, and the Find Business Support website is the avenue that businesses are going to access the funding. So we will continue with the insights piece over the coming weeks to ensure that, we're doing everything we possibly can to support these businesses through this crisis. In In terms of again, what the insights are telling us is already, people are looking to the future. And again, as part of this, we could maybe come on to that. But it's incredible how, as what we say with the rural leadership when I'm speaking to people is there is a period in this time to reflect and to learn.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. So this reflection and learning from this pause, if you like, what businesses are now looking at around the resetting. What does that look like, and how does a recovery look like for these businesses? It's very different across industries, but there is a pattern emerging, and it's linked to technology and innovation.
You must be seeing some phenomenal examples of innovation and out-of-the-box thinking. Have you got any examples that you're able to share with us?
Yeah, so obviously I can't disclose, any, but
no.
Really what I'm hearing is that business models have overnight had to be remodelled and had to have a deep rethink of what their systems and processes are looking like. Many businesses are now supporting local. We've got a significant amount of businesses who are going directly to locals. The public are looking to these businesses to provide a service online. So
absolutely.
A number of the businesses have had a website as such, but maybe haven't focused so much as on with the online sales. They've known that it's there, and it's been something that they've thought, well, maybe one day we could look at that. But that was magnified with the crisis. So a number of businesses have looked at their online platforms. Some have even rebranded, completely refreshed their business model. They have implemented new CRM systems online, really tightening up their productivity, looking at wastage, what products maybe didn't work so well. And they're preparing in a way which they've never, thought they had to in this way. They've been able to adapt very quickly. I mean, the thing with the rural leaders that, I'm working with is they're very nimble businesses, so they can adapt quickly. Whilst it's going through the crisis, they are adapting to what customers are asking them to provide. And I think that's absolutely key. Really understanding what is your customer now looking for.
Yes, which is very different to what they may have been looking for a few weeks ago. Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely. So they don't want to come in and buy the products or have the experience that they did. So, just this morning I was speaking to a business about what the guidelines might be coming out and telling him, but also from a customer service point of view, what could that look like for his business going forward? So a lot of thinking and planning, strategic planning is going on right now. But the online component has definitely been a consistent theme that, with all the businesses I'm speaking to. Previously, online was maybe a fraction of sales, certainly for the food and drink industry. But this has really brought to the fore that online it could be, the new growth area, for example, for businesses.
Yes, absolutely.
Alongside that, we have got a number of tourism businesses which are in a different position completely. But one of the things what I'm finding is, having a collaborative approach is going to be absolutely vital for the going forward into the recovery phase. And I'll give you an example is that Scottish Enterprise run the Agri-Tourism Monitor Farm project.
I know, yes.
Yeah. And over the last few weeks since this crisis began, I know that, on a weekly basis, between 30 to 60 agri-tourism businesses are connecting online through Zoom, and they are having conversations about the way forward. So that sharing examples, sharing of new ideas, understanding, where the landscapes lies in terms of guidance, what they're hearing. I've heard through the tourism businesses that I'm working with that staycations, that kind of domestic market may well be something that, could be looked at as an opportunity. Again, people are saying, well, it's early days, but what does that look like from a business model when lockdown eases and we maybe need to look at, the social distancing measures within the tourism industry? So I think, the people talking to each other, collaboratively coming together across sectors as well is going to be very important so that people are working together.
No business is an island, as it were, and everybody needs to share ideas and work together, and not just share ideas, but share support, I suppose, because it's a lonely time and it's a scary time. And even if some people take the main benefit from some of this connection as being just understanding that they're not the only ones in the same boat, that all helps as well.
Absolutely. In the rural context, just to kind of give a bit of a kind of context around that, is that rural accounts for 95% of Scotland's land mass, and just over 1 million people live in rural Scotland. And within the rural businesses, many, for example, in Highlands and Islands or in some parts of the remote lowlands, for example, it can be pretty isolated. So connecting and talking and sharing, what you're thinking about, how the business is looking, about other people, what are they doing? It is so important to ensure that people know that there is people out there who's going through exactly the same thing. Yeah, it's a key part right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, obviously, I mean, this is really enlightening, and I find it very invigorating and inspiring to hear the ways in which people are being creative and, effectively digging themselves out of what is a nasty hole.
Yeah.
But being realistic for a moment, there will be people out there who, and this is completely understandable, whose brains have just gone into panic mode. They'll still be thinking, I can't see a way around this. I can't think of a way to innovate myself out of this or my business out of this. Particularly the ones who are facing the biggest challenge, perhaps, like, as you say, the tourism sector. If somebody is listening to this and they're thinking, oh, well, this is all very well, these are great stories and good on these people for addressing the future and moving forward, but I feel too panicked and too stuck to really do anything. Where can those people go for a bit of help and support?
Yeah, well, the first one would be about the Fine Business Support website, which the Scottish Government, are putting all the resources into. And within that as well, there's many organisations out there who are reaching out to people who are really, understandably in that crisis mode and cannot see a way out. So I would urge anybody who's feeling like that to reach out to their network, to businesses that they've worked with in the past, to people, organisations who are there to provide that immediate support now. And please go into the Fine Business Support website. There is also a helpline on there as well. Should people, not have the online support or have the digital broadband connectivity, for example.
So that's the place to start if for anybody who's really struggling with getting their business on a sound footing going forward.
Absolutely, absolutely, yep. Definitely.
What do you think this means going forward for the future of rural businesses? What we've dealt with now, how will it change us forever?
Wow. That is a big question, Anna. How will it change us forever? I don't know the answer, if I'm being absolutely honest.
No, that's fair enough.
I think it will change us, but how it looks... I really cannot answer that. I think it's just it's still too early. People are still finding their way a little, and the guidance coming out will be crucial in what that recovery looks like, what impact it's going to have, and what critical steps people need to take, short, medium, and longer term. But people are resilient. I think we just need to,
Oh yes, yes. Now, you have over 600
Yeah.
Rural Leadership
Yeah.
Programme alumni. Now, anybody who hasn't yet been through the programme obviously can't yet benefit from the skills that they learn in that. But there may be people listening who think, crikey,
Yeah.
we're in a crisis at the moment, but we will undoubtedly, whatever they may be, face other crises going forward, big ones or small ones, who knows. I need to get onto that rural leadership programme. I need to make sure that I'm in a position next time something happens that I can use my skills and my communities that I've built up to get myself out of trouble, as it were. Can we be safe in the knowledge that the rural leadership programme will continue and that more people can benefit from going through it?
Well, again, in the current climate, nothing is kind of definite. But what I can say around that is that certainly for this year, there will be a rural leadership programme of some shape or form. We're currently looking at what the design of that looks like, because the rural leadership programme is very much about people coming together and sharing experiences. But we are looking at, doing an online virtual programme, which will, maybe be slightly adapted to the current crisis, what people are maybe needing to look at in terms of their planning, maybe recovery. I mean, we are in unprecedented change from an economic perspective. So what does that look like for rural businesses? Mm-hmm. I can say for definite that the rural leadership programme will, in some shape or form, go forward from October this year. And that, please, get in touch with myself at Scottish Enterprise, and we'll definitely be put you in touch with, once, the applications come out, about what that looks like, and hopefully, I mean, we work with some amazing stakeholders, Scottish Food and Drink, NFU Scotland, Scottish Land and Estates. The list is endless, and we also work very closely with the Scottish Government, working in partnership with Highlands and Islands Enterprise as well. This is a collective approach to growing the rural economy in Scotland, and having leaders which are outward focused and looking at opportunities through a crisis, and supporting these individuals through that is our priority, and always has been. And we are looking also from the network perspective. We're going to be putting a lot of emphasis on the current alumni, which is just over 630 rural leaders.
Wow.
And we're looking at, with everything that's been happening in this, unprecedented times, from a network perspective, really looking at ourselves about refreshing our own communications and our collaboration channels with our rural leaders. Because, our rural leaders, when I say the length and breadth, it really is from, the top of Shetland right down to the remote part of the west of Scotland. So, bringing these rural leaders together in a more cohesive digital platform, and for Scottish Enterprise and our partners to facilitate and foster a sense of community is something that we've got to be working on over the next, immediate term will be over the next few weeks. And it's going to be a new model of engagement that will be coming out and launching over the next couple of weeks. So we're very excited about this supporting people in a very different way. Because as you know, previously we would do the leadership programme, we'd bring people together at events. We would have inspiring speakers, but we're looking at, how can we do that virtually to ensure that all the community feel connected and feel supported through this extremely challenging time.
Absolutely. I've noticed over the years that the Rural Leadership Programme, and it's thanks to you and the rest of the team who run it, has an incredible engagement rate. So people, even years after they've completed the programme, are still engaging in the additional events you run and engaging with other alumni who perhaps weren't in their year group. It's very much a community. But I suppose the reality is that there may be one or two people who've been through the programme and then kind of got caught up in life and have slightly dropped off the radar when it comes to engaging.
Yeah.
What would you say to them if they do happen to be listening to this podcast?
Absolutely. So what we've recognised over the years, and we've done quite a bit of evaluation on this, is people's life cycle, they can come in and out of networks at different times, or they maybe think, well, that's not maybe relevant to me now, or it's maybe been too busy for me. I've had that regularly, people saying, I wanted to come along or join. If people are listening and they've been on the programme and they think, well, I'm, maybe a bit embarrassed, haven't connected or whatever, you would be amazed. We've had people come back to us from 14 years ago and said, it just wasn't the right time. I've been away growing my business. I'm now need to come back. But this is the time now. Yeah. People supporting people. And, what I've noticed even in my own community is this sense of community, helping each other, supporting one another. That is what this online platform is going to really facilitate. A stronger community of like-minded people to help and support. So for anyone who's been on the programme and feels a bit disconnected, please do, everybody's got my email, and I do sometimes say, I hope I'm not kind of hassling you, and they're like, no, I'd really like to hear from Scottish Enterprise and what you guys are all up to as well. So please do reconnect if you haven't done so in a while. Now is really important that people do feel connected and do know that there is support out there. And people, what I've found is humans do want to help people. We are social species. Completely. The other thing as well is that people care. So, please do know that there is a community out there to help.
Yes, I couldn't agree more, 100%. I suppose before we kind of sign off and say goodbye, because I know you're a very busy lady, have you got any final kind of tips or pieces of advice for anybody listening who's working in a rural business and currently coming to terms with COVID-19 and what that means for them?
Yeah, I think I've said it again in this podcast, and I see the word, but this unprecedented change we've never been here before. The right now is still significantly challenging for people. But I see when I do speak to people, there is a sense of planning for the future. So navigating around the now, and you touched on it earlier, Anna, that, some people are still, really struggling within that.
Yeah.
And for others, the recovery is on their minds. There's going to be a shift in new economic models, no doubt about it, even from the people that I'm speaking to. So as much as it really might be very, very tough, I'd encourage businesses, rural businesses, to start to plan ahead. Begin to look at what does a restart or what does it look like? And it could be quite complex, or it could be, for some more of the same. But think of the innovation. Have a plan. We always talk about this within the Rural Leadership Programme, as you know. A plan, a strategy is so important. Even if it's small goals, just little things, or for some that I'm speaking to, it's a major remodel.
Something that gives direction and confidence as
absolutely,
well.
Absolutely. And a sense of purpose. These rural businesses that support rural communities and rural place are fundamental to our community, and we need to ensure that they continue. So hence why, there is support available, and why the government are ensuring that, as many businesses are able to ride the storm and adapt. It's a very complex landscape, but that would be, where I would say for rural businesses to think.
I think that's definitely the best advice as far as I can tell. I think having a plan does give you confidence. And,
absolutely.
And structure, the ability to focus. And I think that's absolutely critical at this time. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, Julia, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Do you think we've missed anything?
No, I think I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank you, Anna, for giving me this, this platform to share with you, the leadership programme and the support that's on the Fine Business Support website. That our agencies and government are working towards, and really just I hope that people that are listening know that there is support out there, and that we're working to really look at our recovery and the guidance that will come around that. So thank you.
Absolutely. No, I agree. Thank you, Julia. And I would also urge anybody listening, particularly those who've been through the Rural Leadership Programme, to please share this episode far and wide, because whilst it focuses on the Rural Leadership Programme, I think there are definitely some real nuggets of information in there that will benefit anybody out there who's running a rural business. So please do share, because I think, as you said, people want to help people, and we need to be sharing ways in which people can get help and advice. So yeah. Thank you again for your participation, Julia.
No, that's great.
So that was Julia Latto. A really enjoyable conversation for me. I've known Julia for a long time, and she brings a huge amount to the table when it comes to rural businesses and innovation. So I hope you found it useful. Please do feed back to us. Best way is via Twitter, which is @on_farm UK. So please get in touch. Let us know what you thought, and also let us know what else you'd like to be hearing over coming weeks and months. Thank you very much for listening.